There we go. All right, it is 8:05. We'll go ahead and get started. Some people may still be jumping in. Just wanted to first welcome everybody for welcome to the first part of our VPM training. So this is something that your district officers felt was really, really important. So we've been working with them to make sure that we provided some sort of training, some sort of place for you all to ask questions. And just wanted to say thank you for joining us on this very fine Sunday evening. I hope you all have had a great weekend so far. So we have three great, amazing speakers and leaders within our fraternity to share information with you. Today it's going to be really an overview of pivot guidelines and to answer the questions that you have submitted. I will put a disclaimer out there that there are still things we are figuring out. Things are changing on a day-to-day basis. Things probably are changing for your university as well. What we want to do is to expose you to some of the questions that other people are considering, are thinking of, or maybe some of the ideas that they're already putting into place. So our speakers, myself, National Council, the whole fraternity as a whole, we don't have all the answers right now, but things that you may be asking, maybe thinking of, maybe something that we haven't thought about yet. So please continue to ask. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and mute yourself so that the audio is clear. If you do have a moment where you want to speak, feel free to unmute yourself. There's also the chat function that we'll monitor as well. So the speakers will go through the first part and just give an overview of certain parts of the pivot guidelines. And from there, we'll go over the questions that you have submitted. So without further delay, I'll go ahead and turn it over to our speakers for quick introductions. Jessica, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Bon. My name is Jessica Lee. I'm your National Vice President for Colonization and Membership. I'm a life member from the Eta Alpha chapter at Lock Haven University.
That was the shortest intro I've ever heard. Okay, I love it.
What do you want me to say? I have a new puppy.
I'm a mother of two amazing children.
I have two children, Hot Mess Express, AKA Emmy Jean Lee, she's 6. And I have a son, Jackson, he's 10. I am married to past National President Jack Lee. Bong is one of my best friends. Love Kat. Caleb, I've known longer than anybody on this call. Is that good? Anything else? My favorite color is pink.
Great.
I like sushi.
That's TMI. So we'll just go ahead and shift over to Caleb. An introduction from you, please, and thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Caleb Graham. I'm a spring 2003 initiate of the Zeta Psi chapter of Virginia State University. I'm currently serving as one of your SED governors.
Kat, what about you?
My name is Katrina Merrick. I'm an active brother from the Mu Delta chapter at Western Michigan University, and I am currently the North Central District Vice President of Membership.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So these three individuals have so nicely given up some of their evening to help us kick off this VPM training. Again, this is the first part of our series here. More information to come about part 2 and part 3. But again, we'll start off with Jessica. If you wanted to go over your part of pivot guidelines, I'm going to go ahead and put the link into the chat. But Jessica, if you wouldn't mind just kind of talking over your portion of it, and then from there we can get into more specific questions.
Okay, there we go. I'm unmuted. I did a quick screen share here so that we can just see what I'm talking about. My piece of the pivot guidance that we're talking about is related to the ritual, and it's very simple. There will be no in-person ritual this fall. So when the guidance was created, it was created with Tau Beta Sigma. This guidance is identical for Tau Beta Sigma as well, but also our insurance company, Holmes Murphy, was a part of this process in creating our guidance. And so when you look at the ritual is one of the most high-risk spaces for us to contract COVID because we're getting very close to one another during that ritual. So for the fall, you cannot have, regardless of the size of your chapter, regardless of your university guidance, regardless of what your director, events, and sponsor says, you cannot have an in-person ritual for the fall. What you can have is a virtual alternative. And so you can feel free to email ritualeducation@kksci.org, which is at the bottom of this guidance right here, or myself. If you did not provide some sort of debrief or something for your candidates in the spring, and you need to do that now, please email Ritual Education or email myself, and we are happy to go through whatever degrees you were unable to do. We have a very in-depth debrief for all 3 degrees. So you just need to contact us, give us some possible dates, and let us know what you need. And then if you're deciding to take a class for the fall, we are going to offer a virtual alternative. And it is going to come from the national level so that we can keep things secret and safe. So for example, we're not going to do any recordings of that because we don't want a recording to appear on the internet. Same thing with a virtual copy of the ritual document. We don't want that to appear on the internet. So we will do secure Zooms that will be live. So you will register for the Zoom, just like you probably registered for this Zoom call, and we will provide a virtual alternative. We're still working out the details on how that's going to look. What I have spoken about with Erica Pope, who is Tau Beta Sigma VPCM, is that each district will offer different dates to be able to do the virtual ritual, but I haven't solidified any of those details yet. I still have to meet with district councils, but I am hoping at the beginning of September we'll be able to give you more guidance as far as what those virtual alternative dates will be. But in the meantime, if you need something for spring, just email myself or email Ritual Education, and myself or someone from the ritual team will be able to do that virtual debrief with your chapter.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jessica. All right. So with that being said, I know there are questions. We will go over some of those questions later as well, but just wanted to open up the floor for any burning questions, like I need to get this off my chest right now. Going once, twice. Oh, Glenna, sorry.
Yeah, are these going to be like each individual chapter is going to do like a virtual one for fall, or are you going to like group people together to make it like one and done kind of thing? Or will it be like a chapter registers and you do just that chapter for degrees and ritual and stuff?
I'm hoping what we can do is just do some announcements of several dates, and then whenever chapters are able to make it, they can sign up for those dates. That's kind of the picture that I have in my head. I did many debriefs in the spring, and when I could, I tried to group chapters together so I could do more than one chapter at a time. With this, what I'm thinking is that we can release dates in the fall and saying, here are possible dates for first degree, here are possible dates for second degree, here are possible dates for third degree. Your chapter can sign up for those dates, or some chapters are just not taking a class in the fall for whatever reason, and they wouldn't have to, and then we'll see what happens. We're only planning a semester ahead because we don't know what will happen. So then when the spring comes, we'll see what the spring brings.
Right. Thank you. Any other burning questions? Let's see. Seeing none so far. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to Caleb. If you wouldn't mind going over some of the pivot guidelines on chapter operations, such as reporting or anything that has to do with the membership aspect for VPMs to start thinking about.
All right, guys. First, I'll start with saying OMRS will be your best friend. With everything pretty much being virtual, and we pretty much already had these virtual forms in place, a lot of what you're doing is already the same as it comes to our online reporting system. So make sure that you're checking the OMRS. The chapter personnel report is already live. So if you guys want to go ahead and fill that out. If you have anyone transferring into your chapter, please make sure you got the transfer form filled out as well. If you had any pending membership things from the fall, from the spring, that will need to be taken care of before they'll be added to your chapter personnel report. So please keep that in mind. If you don't see them on there, that may be your holdup. And have each member of your chapter go in OMRS, to make sure that their number and address and emails are all correct. Okay, so the OMRS will definitely let you know if you're on time, early, late, things like that, based on when you submit your form. All right, so your dues are still the same. The current chapter fee is $100 per chapter, and the current membership dues are $105 per person. So you have to get those submitted, or it's encouraged to get those submitted prior to September 15th. So now is a good time to get with your chapters and make sure everyone has their dues so you can get them submitted on time. If you've made any updates to your chapter in elections, make sure that your officer and chapter update is submitted and approved no later than August 31st. Okay, so if you've done elections and you haven't done that, make sure you do it before August 31st. All right, so we also have the membership candidate registration form now, which is live for use for all chapters. The summary page will have to be signed by each participating membership candidate, and it should be completed and submitted to national headquarters within 7 days of your first membership ed class. Okay? All right, you still have your initiate registration form, which does not require face-to-face interaction. Your fall activity report is still due on December 1st. Remember to start the form early to give your director of bands and sponsor extra time to review your report before the deadline. You also still have your graduating senior report that's in OMRS, so that graduating seniors can be appropriately moved to alumni status. Okay, for this year, your communication with your director and sponsor is going to be paramount. I know a lot of your campuses are going through changes, and they're going to be your people that's going to help you navigate those changes the best. So make sure you have that constant communication about things which will be the best practice in which for you guys to operate. All right. Your chapter should hold all of your meetings online. All of your official business should be virtual. You guys should not be meeting in person. So make sure you find a good virtual meeting platform that suits you. There's plenty of ones that can use that don't have a cost to them. Zoom, Cisco WebEx, the free conference call, Google Hangouts, Microsoft Teams, Skype. Find one that works for your chapter to have make sure you guys can meet that way. And you'll just have to be as efficient as possible with your meetings now that we're working virtually. Okay, so your meetings will pretty much run the same. Again, they'll just be virtual, so you'll have to maintain that Robert's rules, that order of business throughout. When it comes to voting, there are some voting options you can use. There's Poll Everywhere, there's Election Runner, Poll Maker, or Google Forms that you can use to collect your polling data. So you've got options there, and also really use this time to plan out what it is your chapter is going to do over the next few months. Try to get as much planned as possible, especially when it comes to your service opportunities, your musicianship opportunities, fundraising, and bonding and fellowship. These are things you need to talk about in conjunction with your band director, because a lot of it's probably going to have to come virtually. And following your school and your CDC guidelines is what's going to help you best navigating these things. All right, I think that's everything from me.
Great, Caleb. Thank you so very much for that. Again, we will go over some specific questions that you have submitted later on, but just wanted to open up the floor for any burning questions. Let's see, going once, twice, seeing none. Okay, so let's go ahead and shift over to Kat. If you wouldn't mind going over your portion of the pivot guidelines and just sharing your what you have learned by going through that.
Yeah, so I am also going to share my screen so that you can see the pivot guidelines from where I am. So the membership education for this year, I want everybody to take a deep breath, hold it for a second, breathe out. We're going to live through this. It doesn't matter what happens. I know that things are going to be different and things are going to be wild and weird, but I promise we have lived through worse and we'll make this work. So coming for the upcoming year for membership education, the reason I share my screen is because the pivot guidelines include a lot of links within the actual list for online recruitment for ways that we can think about and consider recruitment in an online platform more easily. And I heavily encourage you to check them out because they have some really cool options there. However, some of the things we have to talk about for recruitment this year is it's going to be a lot more, being online, it's going to be a lot more personal connections and a lot more of just more face-to-face interaction. Everybody, I feel like, has that story of how they joined Kappa Kappa Psi, and it's always somebody who got them at least to their first meeting, and that's going to take double effect now that we don't have passive recruitment of just being in the area around people. So there are actually some brainstorming sessions for the joint organizations and for the separate sessions coming up. There's one tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Time, and then also one on the 25th, and then for joint sessions, and then for separate sessions, the 19th and the 27th, they're going to be available. So if you want to be part of that, please fill out the form included there. All recruitment events should be online. It's going to be the easiest way to make sure that you and all of your potential membership candidates are safe in the fall. And we need you to always check in with your university, your state, your local guidelines on how things need to be handled. But for the most part, the guidelines are in place to keep us safe. And we want to make sure that you and everyone that you're involved with is safe. So doing these things online is going to be the best option to make sure that we are not spreading COVID even further than it needs to be. In addition to that, we also are talking about online membership classes. So it says encouraged to continue to conduct within the guidelines themselves. We're encouraging you to continue your membership classes. Don't cancel just because there's a pandemic going around. But we are saying that membership and recruitment activities should be virtual. These are important activities and we don't want anybody to be unsafe just because they want to join our organization, and that's a hard place to stand. However, we can make this work. Coming up for membership education activities, when you're thinking about membership education activities, we have all been in online classes, I assume. At this point, since things moved online in the spring, I just look back at what has worked and what hasn't worked for you and assume that your peers are probably going to be the same way. If you can't sit through a lecture without fidgeting or getting distracted, then maybe lecturing isn't the best option. But if you need help or you want to access more people who are more informed than I am as an education student, the curriculum committee is always available for you to reach out to, and as well as our wonderful Jessica Lee is also available for you to reach out and work on things with your chapter. But that being said, I promise it's going to be okay.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Kat, for going through that. So we'll go through now and go through the questions that you have submitted. And again, a lot of these questions, we may have touched on them already, but I want to make sure that we do bring up these questions, and if they're not answered, that we at least get clarification on. We will answer this at a later point. We'll get more information about this, or we just don't know yet. So let's go ahead. Let me pull up my questions here. So the first question, let's see. What is the best way to teach Road to Wisdom lessons online? Would any of our speakers like to take that on? The best way, some best practices to teach Road to Wisdom.
I don't mind talking about that one.
Go ahead, Caleb.
Well, being that I was a colony advisor this past semester and I really had to teach the Road of Wisdom online, well, what we did was, before we could still meet in large groups, I would teach the lessons, you know, kind of via screen and talk to them as a large group. But I found success just having them each having Zoom on their phones with their information available. We just kind of talk through the lessons. It's hard to kind of put it to practical application virtually, but it's easy to kind of talk through everything, get feedback, and kind of walk through everybody while they could be in the comforts of their own home or their room or whatever they're doing. Jess?
I think the other thing that I have successfully seen chapters do, the ones that stand out to me, and I don't know if anybody from these chapters are on this call, Gamma Nu at Florida State, Alpha Eta at University of Florida, Nu at Michigan. Those chapters used whatever online platform their university uses. I know one used Canvas, someone else used Google Classroom, and they created modules with the lessons and had them interact and go through the information that way. And then they met on Zoom calls to discuss it. So basically did what you're probably doing for your classes already. They had some sort of PowerPoint they could go through, and then they met to discuss it. If you're a VPM that's techie and nerdy, I would love to recommend a platform to you called Nearpod, if you are not familiar with it. It is a platform where you could take a Google slide. It's free. There is a paid version, but you don't need it. You can take a Google Slides presentation and create it, and you can upload it into Nearpod. But the cool thing about Nearpod is that you can insert different things within it, and you can do it. You could do this Nearpod presentation over Zoom. They actually just added a feature where you could make it go live. So basically you can have some information, and then there's a feature where it will pop up on the screen a question, and then from your box, you respond to the question. And what pops up on the screen looks like virtual sticky notes. You can insert videos. You can insert like a quiz or a question. You can insert like a game. You can insert a Google form. So you can insert all of these things. It's very easy to use, but you could take those and make lessons, but make them interactive, and it will work over Zoom as well. So if you are not familiar with it, but you're someone that wants to take it to the next level, I highly recommend Nearpod. It's super cool. The other thing is, as we're virtual, thinking of different ways to respond to things. I'm putting these, not the links, I will in a second, but another way, another platform to use is called Flipgrid. It's also free. And Flipgrid allows you to record videos and for people to respond to each other with videos, but it has some cool add-ons because you can add on emojis and all kinds of stuff with it. So as a VPM, you could say, introduce yourself to your MC class using Flipgrid, and everybody can make videos. Instead of doing like the traditional interview, you could have everybody in the chapter create a 5-minute Flipgrid, 5 minutes or less Flipgrid, and then everybody can watch the Flipgrids. So just thinking about using some of those tech tools out there that could be really helpful and keep things still interactive and fresh. That's not just like death by PowerPoint.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Any of our attendees, I just wanted to open up the floor too, just to kind of see, has anyone seen anything being done that they thought worked well through their classes in their chapter they're using right now, that's virtual, that you have found useful or helpful? Miles.
Hi, yes. So I'm Miles, and Omega, and actually it's not even our organization. My cousin is actually a part of another organization. I remember I went over to her house one day, and she's kind of like the VPM for her org, and they would be doing like kind of different games to keep people interacted. So like, for example, after like, say for us, if we had like our second degree, you know, they would have like a Jeopardy game where you would go over everything in the second degree and be like, okay, so like, were you paying attention? You know, what was this about? What was that about? And I thought that was really interactive, and it really got them thinking, because during a time like this, you know, like she said, I'm one of those people that, you know, I get really fidgety when I'm in a 1 hour lecture. Yeah. Oh, computer science was terrible. So you really, like, I really thought it was very cool that they found different games that they might want to play. Like, for example, they would have Family Feud. And so for however many people who are your membership candidate, you can like split them into teams, and that way they can lean on each other. So I thought that was very interactive and cool to like make different games out of that. And you can basically just do it through things like a slide presentation. I know for us, we had a Jeopardy game. We hosted a Jeopardy game for our band when everything went online last in the springtime, just to keep us engaged. And we just did like facts about Howard, facts about our band, and, you know, facts about the different sections throughout the year. So I really thought that that was very interactive, and it'd be a great way to, you know, keep people engaged and to make sure people know what, like, people are going over what they're learning. So afterwards, you know, if someone messed up on something, you might, well, you know, go back and look at the Jeopardy game and keep going over those answers, because we'll have that Jeopardy game again in like a week or so, and I want to see you guys excel.
Great. Hey, that's awesome. I love that. And I think it kind of incorporates the competitive nature in most of us band kids. So love that. Thank you. So the two things that I did want to reiterate that I heard from past conversations and from tonight, one is that you do have resources in these national committees and district committees that you can leverage. So like tonight, I am 0% qualified to speak on any of this stuff. So I brought in people who are more qualified to speak in this stuff. So for me, like, it takes off a lot of pressure from my back. I just have to organize it and get people here. So make sure that you think about or consider leveraging national committees and your district committees, your district officers, your governors to help out with this. And then the second thing I would say is that I've heard just from other chapters that they're reaching out and maybe doing joint activities with another chapter, or sharing ideas, or at least like exchanging, so that you're kind of making it feel not so small, not so isolated in just the Zoom world. So some things to consider there. All right, so moving on to the next question here. Again, I know this is already answered, but just to make sure that we go over it once more for everybody. The second question here is, when will we hear about national virtual performances, and how should we schedule the MC process to reflect the guidelines?
So if you're just joining us on the call, I kind of touched on this earlier. What my plan is to have each district offer multiple dates for each degree, so that you can sign up for the date that best fits your needs. There's still some details of working out to do that, but basically you would register just like you would register for a Zoom meeting. We will put it out there through email and through platforms. And then if your district uses a particular platform, then your district VPM or district president will be pushing it out as well. But you will register for it as a secure Zoom. And then what we will do is we will vet your registration. So to make sure that you are a registered member of the organization, or you are a registered candidate of the organization. We will then you will get an email with a secure link. We will allow you into the room one at a time, so we can make sure that only our people are in there. So it is not, as I mentioned earlier, we're not doing any recordings. We're not giving out virtual copies of the virtual book, because all of those things could end up online. So to offer this virtual option, it is the most secure option. And then again, if you need a debrief for the spring, for anyone you were unable to do degree for, if you still need something for spring, please contact us ASAP so we can get that scheduled for you. You do not want to leave your newly initiated members in purgatory, i.e. not knowing the secrets. They paid their money. We want to make sure the National Council recognizes them as full members in regular standing, which means they get all rights and privileges, which includes all of the secrets. When we are able to do in person, obviously you're going to still want to put them through the degrees so they have the experience, but we are going to tell them everything, as they should. We don't want this pandemic to hurt any of our brand new brothers just because of something that they have no control over. So don't hesitate to contact us, but my plan is to have more information at the very beginning of September so we can get started.
Awesome, thank you. So you led into the next question here, and I'm assuming that everybody here has members who went through, or didn't go through third, but are full brothers in full standing, but haven't gone through third. Is that correct? Every chapter has that? Everybody here so far? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great, great. Thank you. So with that being said, Jess, so let's say, I just want to make sure that I'm hearing this right as well. Let's say, you know, a brother in full standing, went through there's 2020 spring. What's the best way for the chapter or like Big, whoever, to go through those secrets with me?
So in the spring, I gave out a couple of options, and these are still options you can use. As a chapter, you are welcome to have a secure Zoom and talk through the ritual. When I do my debrief workshop, I go through everything. I explain how we move. I explain what they see. I read pieces, although not everything, but they do know everything by the end. So you are welcome. I have given the following suggestions. You can have big brothers talk to little brothers and just do it that way. You can have the chapter set up a secure Zoom and the chapter the VPM go through things. You can contact myself or Ritual Education and we can do the workshop for you. So you have a couple different alternatives about how you want to go through it, but you need to reveal all of the secrets. They should know everything. They should know everything that happens in the degree. There should be no stone left unturned for them. So if you need help with doing that, I've also met with VPMs just to walk them through what a debrief should look like. So I'm happy to do that as well. Or like I said, myself or someone from the ritual team or someone from the National Council, we're happy to go through the ritual with you.
Right. Thank you so much for that clarity there. Any follow-up questions about this? If there are, please feel free to use the chat there. Going on to the next one is activity reviews. I know we get a lot of questions about this, and maybe we could hear from Kaylin and Kat as well. When it comes to the activity reviews, one, I guess I'll just kind of open it up. What are some suggestions of like, what's the best way to fill out an activity review? And how should we adjust, like, should we include ritual? Should we include ceremonies just like we would before? Or should we just completely disregard those?
So having filled out a lot of activity reviews in my time as VPM, the number one thing for activity reviews is make sure that when you're filling them out, at least for the North Central District, I can say that we like to fill them out more broadly, don't include specific dates. However, in regards to the ritual and ceremonies, I'm not sure what the National Council would like. But I know as long as you're reaching out and communicating with the National Council, I believe that that will be your best option going forward to make sure that you're doing everything correctly and with as little issues as possible.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, especially since rituals will probably be held on predetermined dates. That's not really something you might not know ahead of time. So I guess just be as detailed as possible as you can, and sign up for those ritual dates when they come out.
Great, thank you. So let's say that, and maybe Jess, you could fill this in as well. You said you should fill out everything as normal. So let's say they fill it out as normal as they had originally planned, and they sign up for these virtual rituals. Do they have to resubmit an activity review or schedule to reflect those virtual ones?
No, in this case, we're going to have a record on the other end of when that virtual ritual is going to be, because you're going to register for the workshop. So when you're doing your calendar reviews, just put all of your other regular dates. You don't have to include the ritual ones. And then as far as any ceremonies that you might do as a chapter, like if you have a big and little ceremony or a joint ceremony or something, then you just do those as normal. And don't forget, if you have already submitted activity reviews for things in the past, you can, those are okay. So for example, if you already have gotten your joint ceremony or your big little ceremony approved, then you do not need to resubmit it. This is only for brand new activities that you have never done before in the chapter that would need an activity review.
Repeat that last part again, because I think that's such an important thing just to hear again.
Only brand new. So if you have already gotten approval for an activity, we don't need to see it again. Only things that you have never submitted before. Typically, y'all, this is usually recruitment activities. And so your recruitment events, and then you don't have to submit an activity review to tell us you're going to do everything online. We don't need an activity review for that. We don't need an activity review to use Nearpod or Kahoot or any of those online websites. How you teach the information, we do not need activity reviews for those. What we would need an activity review for is something like, we're going to do this recruitment event that's Jackbox games or something like that. Like those are brand new things that we're just starting to review. But anything else, like how you teach your information and stuff, we don't need that. If you are adding anything to the process that's not already in the Road to Wisdom, so maybe you're going to do, I'm like literally thinking off the top of my head, an interactive notebook where candidates are going to have virtual meetings with brothers and take notes in it. Like that would be completely different and totally outside the Road to Wisdom. You would need to get that reviewed. So only things that are not in the Road to Wisdom, only things that you don't already have approval for. That's what you should submit an activity review for. And then for your calendar reviews, include all your dates as normal with the exception of degree dates, because those are going to be virtual.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So next I'm going to shift a little bit here in terms of the questions. Caleb, I wanted to ask you, as a governor and your governor corps, what can you share with the VPMs? Like what role does the governor play in support, serving as a resource? What can you share with us so that students know, like who should I go for these questions?
Well, I think if it's something your council can immediately answer, your governors are definitely your next stop. We really spend a lot of time working with our councils, trying to make them as knowledgeable as possible to be that front line for the students. But we definitely are there if you or your sponsor or director of bands have questions. We field a lot of those type of questions. So if there's something you're unsure about and you feel like maybe your council can't answer, any one of your 3 governors or 2 for the Western are more than well equipped to answer your questions and help you.
Awesome.
If you need us to come in, if we're locally, we do that as well. I've definitely visited chapters locally to help them as best I can. So we have a wide range of things that we can do to help you guys with whatever you may need.
Amazing. Thank you, sir. So Kat, so shifting from the governor to the council, what support resource does a council provide? And share, I guess, if you don't mind, what you guys have done on the district level so far.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I think that number one, what your council can offer is a shoulder to cry on. Like number one, I know what you've been through. I may not be in your position specifically, but I've done this job and I'm here for you and I'm here to help you. And even if you just want to yell about being frustrated, that's enough sometimes. It's not healthy to keep all that bottled up, and we're always here to help. Our district council, I know that people across councils, VPMs across the country have been working together to start doing trainings together as VPMs and just getting people in one place. Building a village is going to save your life, and having access to other vice presidents of membership, either district VPMs or VPMs just also in your area, in your state, wherever you are, is going to help you out. Doing this job is really hard, and having done it for 2 years in a row, I can tell you it gets easier. You just have to rely on the people around you and ask for help. I know that I have access to years of, within my actual like NCD VPM email, I have access to old workshops from other MERs. I can go and hunt down stuff if you want information. I have a more direct line to the governors if you are concerned about getting a response, or if you're worried about going straight to the real adults in your life. I can help you. I can be there for you. And I know that everyone else on my council and all of the other VPMs across the district, across all the districts and all the other councils, we didn't get into this job for the title. We got into this job because we love Kappa Kappa Psi and we love all of you. So let us help you. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Do not be afraid of your council. We're here for you.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, honestly, a lot of times people ask questions if people don't know it. At least at least people can connect you to the right person to answer those questions, or at least get it on the radar to think of some sort of solution. So awesome. Okay, so next part here, when looking at online recruitment, there's so many different ways to go about it, and each chapter is going to be so unique. And this question is going to be a bit broad, but to each of our speakers here, when it comes to, in your opinion, what is the most important thing to think about or aspect to consider when looking at online recruitment?
I would say engagement. You'll probably maybe do things virtually with your sections or as a group. How you engage and react to these people are going to be a good part, because not only are they probably looking at you, you're looking at them. So having that positive rapport and making sure you're still doing your best to build good relationships with these people is going to be a good start.
Thank you. Anything else, speakers?
I would say personal connection is like paramount during this time, because it's going to be hard, and people, especially if you're looking at incoming freshmen or like rookies from the fall, they're going to be scared, confused, and trapped in their parents' houses. So not knowing anybody and not having any social life available to them, it's going to be very important that you reach out and you say, hi, this is my name. I'm so excited to meet you. How can I help you? And also, like, here's information about things I do and stuff that happens. In addition to that, just like being able to talk to people one-on-one is why a lot of us join the fraternity. And I think that that can't be underutilized in a situation like this. Just being able to reach out and see somebody and know people going forward. Maybe you don't know all the rookies, but I know that I have like a list of sophomores from my section who I'm absolutely going to text and be like, hey, I care about you and you would be great for this organization. Please, like, show up and give us a chance, especially during this time when you don't have the social life available to you to tell us that you're busy tonight. Like, I know that you're in your parents' basement right now, and I know that you're not out with other rookies out, like, I don't know, exploring Kalamazoo. So you have to, like, if you want to talk to people, we're people.
And if you're laughing because Kat said Kalamazoo, that's actually where her university is. She wasn't like just throwing that out. Like, that's actually her university. I've been there.
Welcome to KZoo, baby.
I'm going to take a different approach here. I think the number one thing you need to think about is safety, because I think you're going to have people in the chapter, and that desire to want to do things in person is going to be strong. I am the most touchy-feely human on the planet. I am a hugger. I am a hand holder. That's just who I am as a person. This pandemic sucks hardcore for someone that is a touchy-feely person that high fives and hugs and does all that stuff. So one, you don't want to make people feel pressured to attend things in person. As a chapter, you shouldn't feel pressured to do things in person. Your chapter will weather this storm. The fraternity will weather this storm. So when you're thinking about just planning your semester as a chapter and you're thinking about what matters, at our core, we're a service organization. So when you have to meet in person, it's probably going to be for something service related. Don't take a chance just to do your meetings in person when online will be just fine. Think about, you may want to do one event in person. And if you're allowed to, you may not even be allowed to. If you're allowed to, you could do one recruitment event in person that maybe is just a meet and greet. Like, here's what the fraternity is about. The chapter is going to introduce themselves to you, and that's it, if you're allowed to. So the first thing that I recommend you doing, if you have not done so already, is read through your university guidelines as related to student groups. Because I will tell you that your university guidelines may be one thing, and your student group guidelines are probably going to be far stricter. So if you have not already received that information, please read it. Because what we are finding is chapters are asking us questions, and we're going and looking at their university website and we're saying, you can't do anything because you can't meet in groups bigger than 10. So please check your university guidance. Please know what your local guidance is. Then talk to your director of bands and sponsor if what you want to do is in line with your university and your local guidance. Then talk to your director of bands and sponsor and find out if they will allow it. Then decide if you're going to do something in person. And for any in-person event, that's kind of that order that you should be following. And just to reiterate, your director of bands and sponsor cannot give you clearance to do the ritual. This is one moment where we are superseding that because the risk for contact is so high during the ritual. So be smart, be safe, and just don't put pressure on one another to meet in person. Give everybody grace this semester. It's going to feel very different because you're not going to be able to do the things that you've usually done. You don't have band like you usually have had band. So just give everybody a lot of grace, have a lot of patience. And the biggest thing that you can do is be a support system for your band and for your chapter and for your director during this time so we can make it through on the other side.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And, you know, I guess at the end of the day, when I really look at this, I see a bunch of creative, ambitious individuals who just want to serve and give back. So when we take a look at the challenges now, I know it can be so overwhelming. I know it seems like, man, like what did I get myself into? This is a lot. How do I even get started? I think at the end of the day, you look at the purposes again and see how can I adjust. And so I think start simple. I think start with safety. And I think when you are able to allow people the time and space to kind of work through their own emotions about you know, COVID and adjusting to their life, I think you are providing a safe space for them to come back hopefully when this is a little bit safer. Just something that I thought was impossible, a drum major and leadership clinic that we run every summer for high school students. We were like, there's no way we're going to be able to do this. In fact, we were able to we usually serve around 200 students each summer. We were able to go over 1,500 high school students for multiple drum major and leadership clinics from all over the country, because there was a need, there was a space, because they don't have that social contact. They don't have band anymore. So how can Kappa Kappa Psi, how can your chapter fill that void? So I think that if you take the time to chat with one another, to share ideas, sign up for those brainstorming sessions and start to incorporate, try something. Don't be paralyzed by the analysis part of like, how can I start this? Because we do have the resources for you. If you need a Zoom line, Nationals, we can provide that for you. If you need tech people, we have tech people to help you with that stuff. So just reach out and ask those questions. So the next question here goes with the VPM position, some chapters is fully focused on the recruitment aspect. Some other chapters also have that CMEP, continuing membership education process. So looking at the active side, keeping people engaged in that retention piece, our speakers, what are some of your thoughts and best practices to keep people engaged on this virtual platform?
I'd say that my biggest suggestion for CMEPs is to make it fun. I think that a lot of times we have a tendency to just put together PowerPoints and then just kind of like, point and shoot lecture style. And especially in these online classrooms, these are your brothers. These are people like this is going to be fun. I know that our chapter has an existing version of like a Jeopardy game that we've put together through. It took me like 3 days to make, and so much more information about Google Slides than I'll ever need. So please, if you want it, just contact me and I will literally send you the blank copy of it and you can edit it to whatever you need. But it's just a really fun way to get the information out there, to have people like have fun and enjoy themselves. I think that during this time, we're all very stressed out. One thing that the North Central District has been talking about is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and just like, you can't reach a higher level of like emotional self-fulfillment if you're concerned about your actual health and your day-to-day life. And so I think that a lot of situations right now, you're going to be dealing with the lower levels of the pyramid when normally you're up here, like trying to achieve self-actualization. And I think that by making it fun, you're going to keep your brothers a lot more involved, because it's going to be more bonding and more activities that you understand and appreciate with your brothers. And that's going to be a great way to keep moving forward. And also, people are more likely to keep things in their mind if they enjoyed the activity and they are able to associate things with it. I know that one of the questions on our Jeopardy thing is, it's just pictures of famous alumni. And I remember I had a picture of Dizzy Gillespie up there, and one of our MCs literally knocked over a desk. He was so excited when he saw that picture because he recognized it that fast, and now that's forever associated in my mind. I'm never going to forget that, and neither is anybody in that class, because Raul nearly broke his face trying to get up to the thing, screaming about how excited he was. So maybe you won't have the in-person desk flipping, but still, having fun is going to be your best way to keep people engaged.
Love it. Any other thoughts, speakers, on engaging the current brothers through CMAP?
I think the biggest thing during this time is that you're going to be spending an extraordinary amount of time in front of your computer, I would imagine. So just try to make things light and fun. Try to bring joy when you are meeting and you are doing these things. One of the things that I tell people about continuing membership education is that you should never assume what people want or what they know. So just surveying your chapter and find out the topics that they want, finding people to come in and speak. The beautiful thing about being virtual is that anybody across the country can talk to your chapter. So if you want a national council member to speak to your chapter, if you want one of us to do a workshop for your chapter, or anybody in leadership or past national people or your district council, it doesn't have to be you always giving the content. You can bring somebody else in. But just trying not to make things overwhelming, because your chapter is not going to be able to operate the way that it usually has. And so just accepting that and knowing that, giving people grace. Your health comes first, then your degree, then band, and then the fraternity. And it should not be fraternity, band, your degree, and then your health. And I think sometimes that's what we do to ourselves, right? And I am the first person that's guilty of that. I will almost kill myself trying to get everything done. So just making sure, I think Kat brought up something great about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. My education nerdiness got excited when she said that. I think just really taking care of one another, making it light and fun, but also not over scheduling yourselves on Zoom, because literally somebody will kill someone. And so just being really careful of that. One of the things that I had suggested to another chapter is, if you are allowed to meet in person, being strategic about how you schedule that. So maybe you're doing one thing a month together. Maybe it's one service project that you're able to do and you get to see each other in person. So being strategic about how you schedule that, that's another idea of something you can do. But as far as CMAP is concerned, survey your people and see what they want to know and who they want to hear it from.
Love it. Thank you. Any other thoughts about anything else before we move to the last question here? Seeing none, okay. All right, so again, before I get to this last question, I do want to reiterate that this is an ongoing conversation. Your growth as a leader and as a VPM, as a guiding spirit, it's going to be a continuous process. There's no way that anybody could give you all of the answers right here, right now. So we hope that you will continue to keep engaged here and to show up here so that we can help you at least supporting you through your ideas and your questions. So we will have other series going on. We will have other discussions. So please continue to keep in contact and to connect and plug in. So if you get nothing else from this call, I hope that you will get something from this last question. So to our speakers, the question is, what is your one piece of advice for new VPMs? And even if you are a returning VPM, each year is different. And of course, this year is very different. So welcome to your first year of being a virtual VPM. So to our speakers, once again, what is your one piece of advice for VPMs?
You're not by yourself. You don't have to navigate these new waters alone. You have friends, you have resources, you've got your council and your governors that you can reach out to for help. Don't feel like you have to take on this task by yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. What else?
I would say definitely ask for help, but mine specifically is going to be take care of yourself. This is a hard job. it's going to be made even harder by everything that's happening. You are absolutely your most important resource, and you need to take care of yourself. You wouldn't treat your brothers, if you wouldn't treat your brothers the same way that you're treating you right now, then you need to take a step back, give yourself grace, and be able to move forward in a more healthy experience. It'll make you a better leader, it will make you a better educator, and it will make you a better brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Jessica.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute fast enough. You don't have to do it alone. So it is the chapter's responsibility to bring in members. So you don't have to do this alone, especially in this virtual time. A great way to get people in the chapter to interact with your candidates is to have brothers sign up to help teach lessons, to help lead lessons. You can use a committee to create content. I came from a small chapter for a long time, we were only about 10. So get an assistant, somebody that wants to be a VPM, get somebody that's hungry that wants to do it with you. You don't have to do it alone. So get a committee, get an assistant, get people to sign up to lead things. It is the chapter's responsibility, not the VPM's responsibility. It's the chapter's responsibility to make sure that candidates are educated properly.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I just wanted to once again take a moment to thank all of our speakers, each and every one of you, for taking the time tonight. These are tough questions. There's a lot to unpack here. Times are scary, but I am so grateful to have these three individuals to call them as brothers and leaders within the fraternity. I hope that you will also lean on them when you need help, if you have questions. Again, this is a brotherhood, and I know sometimes that becomes an overused word, but at the end of the day, we are here for one another. We understand what it means to be in band. We understand what it means to give our all. So during these tough and uncertain times, I hope that, again, you will continue to stay connected. You continue to ask questions, because your questions make us better. Your concerns make us stronger. And your conversations make us even more aware of who we are as an organization, how we want to go about serving one another, serving our future generations. So once again, thank you to our panelists. If you have questions, please reach out to them. Their emails are probably everywhere over the website, are already in the chat. So she's done enough of these, she knows to put them in chat. Okay, so this will be recorded. I will, once the video is rendered and up on our YouTube page, I will email this out to everybody, at least to your district VPMs to send out. And then once we finalize the details for part 2 and 3, I will get that information out as well. Thank you all. Have a great night.